Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of Matthew. Today we're beginning at Matthew chapter 27, verse 11. Jesus now is on trial before Pilate, the Roman governor. The chief priests, the teachers of the law, the Sanhedrin, that's the Jewish ruling council, has sent Jesus to Pilate, hoping that he will pronounce the death penalty. So when Jesus stood before the governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus says, "You said so." Chief priests and elders accused Jesus, but Jesus gives no answer. So Pilate asked him, "Don't you hear this testimony they bring against you?" But Jesus made no reply, not even to a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor. What's going on here? When they bring Jesus to Pilate, they accuse him of political rebellion. They say he is leading a rebellion against Rome. He's trying to set up a Jewish kingdom and proclaim himself as king. Now that's the accusation they make. That's why Pilate asked the question, "Do you consider yourself to be king?" Now, the night before, they had been concerned about blasphemy, but they know Pilate will have no interest in a charge of blasphemy. For him, that's a purely religious question. But if they accuse Jesus of political rebellion, of trying to set himself up as king, Pilate will be interested in that because he's not going to allow for any kind of rebellion against Roman authority. That's why he asked, "Do you consider yourself to be a king?" Jesus will not answer. Pilate's amazed at that. He expects anybody accused of a crime, which could be a capital crime, to defend himself. Jesus will not. Now, Pilate also understands that the charge is illegitimate. He recognizes the chief priests are jealous of Jesus. He recognizes they're trying to get rid of a rival to their popularity. So he decides, I don't really need to execute this guy. He's not dangerous. Pilate's thinking he's just a religious preacher. He's of no interest to me, but I've got to find a way to let him go. Now, as we read on, we are told that it was the custom at the time of Passover for the Roman governor to give a favor to the Jewish population. And that favor would be in the release of someone who is imprisoned by Rome. So Pilate's thinking it's the chief priests that want to get rid of Jesus. So the crowd's probably on his side. So I'll give the crowd a choice. So the crowd's gathered. They've heard about all this going on. And Pilate comes to them and says, "It's Passover. I'm going to release a prisoner. Do you want Jesus, who has been called a Messiah, or do you want Barabbas?" Now, Barabbas was held as a prisoner of Rome because he was an insurrectionist. He had been involved in a riot, we're told in one of the other Gospels. He feels pretty sure that the crowd will ask for Jesus, not Barabbas, who is, in Pilate's mind, just a petty criminal. So he says to the crowd, "Do you want Barabbas or do you want Jesus? Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" But the chief priests and the elders, we are told, have influenced the crowd, and they cry out, "Barabbas!" "Well, what shall I do with this Jesus, whom some call the Messiah?" he asks. And they say, "Crucify him." "But why?" Pilate says. "What crime has he committed?" Now this shows Pilate knows Jesus is not guilty of anything. But he's arguing with the crowd. "What crime has he committed?" They shout all the louder, "Crucify him." And so Pilate decides to do it. He washes his hands and orders Jesus to be crucified. Or he hands him over to the soldiers to be crucified. So we see this trial before Pilate is really just a kangaroo court. Pilate recognizes there's no real charge against him. He recognizes it's the jealousy of the chief priest, but still he hasn't got the backbone to stand up for what's right. And so at the urging of the crowd, rather than things getting out of control, he simply says, "All right, if that's what you want, that's what we'll do." And he hands Jesus over to be crucified. So this sets the scene for the crucifixion of Jesus. He was arrested the night before. He was on trial before the Sanhedrin, who condemned him for blasphemy. He's brought before Pilate, who condemns him to be crucified, even though Pilate knows he's innocent. And now Jesus is going to the cross. Now, even though it's true that Pilate is sending him to the cross, understand Jesus is giving his life. As he had said the night before, "If I need to, I could have called a legion of angels." My life is not being taken. In other words, Jesus says, I am giving my life for the redemption of the world. This is not simply an unfortunate accident that Jesus dies. Oh no, It is by the design of God. Jesus has come to give his life for us. Now, Pilate and the chief priests, they're the actors in the play. They are wanting to kill Jesus. But all this is to work God's plan, for Jesus has come to give his life to redeem us from sin. And so now he's prepared to go to a Roman cross in order that he might bear our sins, bring about our atonement, and set us free from sin's bondage. What a glory it is to see the Son of God willing to die for us that we might be saved. That's what Matthew tells us, as all the Gospels do. What a wonder it is. Next time in our Bible study, we'll look specifically at the crucifixion, but that'll be for next time. So I'll see you tomorrow in our 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of Matthew.